The gentle hum of the airplane engines had lulled most passengers into a drowsy state of half-sleep as they journeyed across the Atlantic. 30,000 feet above the endless expanse of ocean, Jessica Matthews sat in her window seat, finally allowing herself to relax after 2 intensive weeks of family vacation across Europe. Her mother dozed beside her, and her younger brother was immersed in a movie across the aisle. The flight attendants had just completed their second beverage service, and Jessica nursed her second gin and tonic, the ice now melted, diluting what remained of the alcohol. She deserved this moment of peace after navigating the complex family dynamics that always surfaced during their trips. As an ER nurse in one of Miami's busiest hospitals, Jessica rarely allowed herself such indulgences. Her daily life was a carefully orchestrated ballet of split-second decisions, life-saving interventions, and the emotional fortitude required to witness both miracles and tragedies. This vacation had been her first in nearly 2 years, a much-needed respite from the relentless pace of emergency medicine. The shrill sound of the airplane's intercom shattered her momentary tranquility. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there is a doctor or nurse on board, please press your call button immediately." The request echoed through the cabin, and Jessica felt her body tense instinctively. Years of training had conditioned her to respond to such calls without hesitation. But here, in this metal tube hurtling across the ocean, she hesitated. The 2 drinks she'd consumed created a professional dilemma she had never anticipated. Before she could process her options, her mother jolted awake beside her. "My daughter," Margaret Matthews announced loudly, pointing directly at Jessica. "My daughter is an ER nurse in Miami. She can help." Heads turned in their direction, and Jessica felt the weight of dozens of expectant gazes. A flight attendant rushed to their row, relief evident in her eyes. "Ma'am, we have a gentleman in first class experiencing severe chest pain. Would you please come with me?" Jessica's throat tightened. The professional part of her brain, the part that had been trained through countless emergencies, was already analyzing the situation. Severe chest pain, likely cardiac. At this altitude, with limited equipment. Potentially hours from the nearest runway, but another voice, the one that had guided her through years of professional education, was sounding a clear warning: never practice while under the influence. Never risk your license. Never put yourself in a position where impaired judgment could cost a life or lead to legal consequences that would end your career. "I'm sorry," Jessica said, her voice barely audible over the engine noise. "I've had 2 alcoholic drinks. Ethically and legally, I cannot provide medical assistance." The flight attendant's face fell. "Please, we're desperate. The gentleman is deteriorating rapidly." "I understand, but I could lose my license. I could be sued." Jessica's explanation felt hollow even to her own ears. "I'm sure there are other medical professionals on board who haven't been drinking," but no one else responded to the call. No one else stepped forward. As the flight attendant reluctantly moved away, Jessica caught her mother's shocked expression. "Jessica Matthews. How could you?" her mother hissed. "Someone is dying." Minutes passed like hours. Updates filtered through the cabin. The passenger's condition was worsening. The flight crew had contacted medical professionals on the ground. They were attempting to divert to the nearest airport, but they were still nearly 2 hours from land. Then the second announcement came. CPR was in progress. Jessica sat frozen, her untouched drink still in her hand. She knew what was happening in first class. She knew the desperate rhythm of chest compressions, the frantic search for a pulse, the increasingly dire prognosis with each passing minute. She knew that without proper equipment and medications, the chances of survival diminished exponentially with time. She also knew something else, that even completely sober, with a fully stocked crash cart at her disposal, the outcome would likely be the same. The human heart, once it decides to stop in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, rarely consents to restart without extensive intervention. 2 excruciating hours later, the plane made an emergency landing. Paramedics boarded immediately, but Jessica already knew their efforts would be futile. The elderly passenger had passed away somewhere over the cold Atlantic waters. Despite the flight attendants' valiant efforts at CPR, as they finally continued their journey home, the mood in the cabin was somber. Jessica's mother refused to look at her, a chasm of judgment now between them. The vacation that was supposed to bring them closer had ended with an unbridgeable divide. Back in Miami, Jessica's colleagues validated her decision. "You did the right thing," they assured her. "Alcohol in your system? No proper equipment? In the middle of the ocean? You would have lost your license for nothing." Yet her family remained divided. Those who understood the complexities of medical liability supported her choice. Those who saw only a refusal to help a dying man could not reconcile their image of Jessica, the compassionate nurse who had dedicated her life to saving others, with the woman who had remained in her seat while someone fought for their life just a few rows away. In the quieter moments, alone with her thoughts, Jessica replayed the scenario countless times. Had she made the right call? Had she protected her career at the expense of offering comfort to a dying man and his desperate wife? Would her presence have made any difference at all? Or would she have simply been another witness to an inevitable tragedy? The questions lingered, like the ghost of the man she had never met, yet whose final moments would forever be intertwined with her own story. Jessica knew the clinical truth, that his fate had likely been sealed the moment his heart betrayed him above the Atlantic, but the human truth, the emotional reality of that impossible choice, would remain with her long after the clouds had cleared. Have you ever been faced with an impossible ethical dilemma? What would you have done in Jessica's position? Was protecting her career the right choice, or should she have helped despite the risks? Share your thoughts in the comments below.